Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So last night I saw this article and I just want to take some time to talk to you all briefly about it. It's from NPR. It includes an audio link, but I'm not going to play the audio link because I don't want to deal with copyright issues. I will post a link to this article in the description box so that you can read it for yourself and so that you could actually hear the audio to this particular article. So I'm just going to read a couple of excerpts and then I'm going to provide my commentary. It says that the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee warned a small group of well-connected constituents 3 weeks ago to prepare for dire economic and societal effects of the coronavirus. It said that the remarks were from U.S. Senator Richard Burr. And it goes on to say this. It says on February 27th, when the United States had 15 confirmed cases of COVID-19, President Trump was tampering down fears and suggesting that the virus could be seasonal. It says this, this is what the president said. He said, it's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle. It'll disappear, the president said, before adding, it could get worse before it gets better, but it could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. On that same day, Burr attended a luncheon held at a social club called the Capitol Hill Club, and he delivered a much more alarming message. And this is what he said. There's one thing that I can tell you about this. It is much more aggressive in its transmission than anything we have seen in recent history. He went on to say this. It's probably more akin to the 1918 pandemic. And this article goes on to say that this luncheon had been organized by the Tar Heel Circle, a nonpartisan group whose membership consists of businesses and organizations in North Carolina. The membership to this organization costs between $500 and $10,000, and it promises that members will be able to interact with top leaders and staff from Congress, the administration, and the private sector. And it talks about how the guests represented companies and corporate and organizations from North Carolina. And it says this, those companies or their political committees donated more than $100,000 to Burr's election campaign in 2015 and 16. So here you have a situation where this guy, while the public is being told that this is not that big of a deal, that it will probably go away, this man was talking to his highly connected donors, these people that give him all this money, and telling them the truth about this virus while keeping his constituents in the dark. Instead of making this some private information provided to the privileged few, this man should have conveyed this message to everyone. This should have been public information. But this is the nature, unfortunately, of certain aspects of our society, man, where it's a elitist society where we have people that play into this oligarchy type of system. And that's what we have here, where the privileged, the high connected, the wealthy are being told the truth while the masses of the people are being misled and misinformed, giving false hope, giving a false presentation of the situation. And now lives are literally at risk because of this. And then it gets worse. There's more stuff going on in this article, and I just want to go into it. And it said this, this article goes on to say, 13 days before the State Department began to warn against travel to Europe and 15 days before the Trump administration banned European travelers, Burr warned those in the room to reconsider. He said, every company should be cognizant of the fact that you may have to alter your travel. You may have to look at your employees and judge whether the trip they're making to Europe is essential or whether it can be done on video conference. Why risk it? Now, again, this is information that he provided to this select group of individuals that donated to his campaign. And then he went on to say this, all this stuff well before, all these measures had been taking place, well before the public had been notified about the true nature of this virus. He says this: there will be, I'm sure, times that communities, probably some in North Carolina, have a transmission rate where they will say, let's close schools for 2 weeks. Everybody stay home. And he talked about this. He's like telling these people all this inside information without telling his constituents, his regular, ordinary, working class constituents, this information. It said, Burr invoked the possibility that the military might be mobilized to combat the coronavirus. And just to let you know, that's happening right now here in Maryland. We have the military here. There are photographs online of military vehicles in Baltimore City. This kind of information should have been relayed to the public, again, a long time ago. It's just a shame that you have these politicians whose primary concern is the money that they receive from these donors. They couldn't give a damn about the people, man. So let me go further. And, this whole thing just makes me wonder, like, what else, like I said on Facebook, like, what else isn't the government telling us about this situation? Like, they're telling us, they're telling us, like, how serious it is right now. They're letting us know, there's serious, drastic measures that are taking place. But I'm just wondering if there is more to this stuff than what we're being told. If it is even much more of a problem or, than what's being presented right now. I really want to know. And then it goes on to say this, which is even worse. Like it says this, this same guy that was raising these alarm bells to at this private meeting to these donors, these wealthy, well-connected people. This same man had a completely different posture when speaking about this to the public. In his public comments, this article says, about the COVID-19, Burr never offered the kind of precise warning he offered to the small group of his constituents. And it goes on to say this: on February 7th, Burr co-authored an op-ed that laid out the tools that the U.S. government had at its disposal to fight the coronavirus. And basically he was saying that we have a framework in place that has put us in a better position than any other country to respond to the public health threat, like the coronavirus. And it goes on to say this: despite his long-time interest in biohazard threats, his expertise on the subject, and his role as the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Burr did not warn the public of the government's actions he thought might become necessary, as he did at the luncheon in on February 27th. And, NPR reached out to this guy to get his response, and he provided this statement, where he's saying he's worked hard to educate the public about the tools and resources of our government, and he's urged public officials to utilize every tool at their disposal in this effort. Every American should take this threat seriously and should follow the guidelines from the CDC and state officials. But, that doesn't cover the issue at hand here. Like the fact that he did not convey this very important information to the public. Instead, he confined that information to this group of well-connected donors. And then on Twitter, he basically attacked NPR and all that kind of stuff. He said they misrepresented his speech, but he can't say that they said it was false. He can't say that anything in this article is false. He can't prove that any of it is false. These are the kind of people we have in government, man. From what I understand, this guy is not running for re-election. And there's even more to the story. So the article goes on to say this. It talks about how Burr unloaded a substantial amount of stocks in mid-February before the recent market volatility. He sold personal stocks worth between $628,000 to $1.72 million in 33 separate transactions on a single day, February 13th. And then when asked about this, one of his spokespersons replied, LOL, meaning laughing out loud. So, and then there was another person as well, another one of these senators, one of these officials who dumped a lot of stock upon having this inside information about the true nature of this coronavirus. And I really think these people need to be investigated for insider trading. I really do. I think that that's a serious issue. I mean, this just epitomizes, everything that you hear people like Bernie Sanders talking about the corruption, talking about the nature of this society that is a society that panders to oligarchs. It's an oligarchical type of society where you have these elites that are privileged. These privileged people that have the means to donate thousands upon thousands of dollars to this guy's campaign. They get information, vital information, before the rest of the public does. And not only this, you have this guy and others like him basically profiting off of a pandemic. That is absolutely despicable. And I hope that these people are investigated for insider trading. Anyway, tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Peace and blessings, everyone.